Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Jason, the Canadian YouTube creator. That's right. And also known as my present subscribers. You guys know. Thanks for being my subscribers. But people new to my channel, welcome everybody. Stands for, well, it says Jason Cosmic RSSP Authority. RSSP stands for, again, my present subscribers, you guys know, but people new to my channel stands for Real Secret Space Program. Way up there in space and millions of miles deep, deep in space, as represented by my powerful, glorious photo in the infrared. I love describing this picture. It has so many ramifications, and we'll talk about it again in future videos. But it says, infrared photograph of one of the gigantic cylindrical objects taken by the Hubble all the way in the rings of Saturn. And if you guys have watched my previous videos, I tie and substantiate the fact that you can know that is staffed by U.S. naval officers, and these craft have been measured at least to 2 to 3 miles in length. That's right, guys. The Navy have supermassive cigar-shaped craft deep in space, the size of small cities, and they are staffed by U.S. naval officers. That's a fact. You just got to watch my previous videos. So I'm trying to help to provide the much needed sufficient transparency, everybody. As I always say, and together we can be advocates for the truth and break down the walls of this crazy, absurd, elite secrecy once and for all, guys. Because when it comes to the real secret space program, the lies have been, and this huge, ridiculous, outrageous cover-up, we're going on 50 to 60 years at least, guys. Yeah, that long. I know, it's crazy. We deserve the truth, everybody, on these free energy generation propulsion systems. I made it my life goal to penetrate this black budget technology, guys, and only one other person that I know of is trying to do the same thing. My buddy, Michael Schratt, the great aircraft aerospace historian. And I would add Billy Carson, actually another person in the mix of that as well. Billy Carson owns his own space company called First Class Space Agency, everyone. And he says the same thing about those cigar-shaped craft, by the way. He says the cigar-shaped craft deep in space are supermassive objects the size of small cities, and they are staffed by U.S. naval officers, and he says that's a fact. So, and you know, when you own your own space company, guys, you're going to be talking to people that most of us would not be talking with, right? So it makes him not just some whistleblower. He's a hardcore space insider, therefore, all right? And you never know, though, Jason, me, I just might have an informant at Lockheed Martin. And that, the topic we're going to discuss today, guys, it is going to be on the CIA, the American Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and we're going to touch on Lockheed Martin. So before we do, though, guys, just a quick reminder. If you appreciate my efforts and try to bring transparency and truth on the, I believe, the most important subject of our times, the real secret space program, and all the topics, the kaleidoscope of topics that is involved with it, guys. If you appreciate and think I have value to share with humanity, because I think I do, in my own unique way and style, I'm trying to dig at the truth, guys. You know, my intentions are pure. You know, I try to be intellectually honest with my work. I'm trying to be bold, honest, open, and true. And we have to have intelligent discourse, I believe, on these topics, guys. Because it all comes down to how do we grow a culture and society to sustain ethical leadership, right? Well, we've got to bring an awareness campaign over the United States intel agencies for starters, guys. That's where it starts, I believe, right? Otherwise, we're never going to do it. And this is why I'm doing my video today. So again, guys, if you enjoy my videos in general, and again, appreciate the value that I'm trying to share and information on these topics, please don't hesitate to subscribe. Give me that thumbs up. I hope you will. Feel free to share my videos. And find that church bell, would you, on the internet, and hit it so you can be notified for my future videos. All right? And I got a Patreon account in the description. I should have it in there. You guys can look it up if you want to support my channel on Facebook, Instagram, my multimedia sites. I definitely could use more support on my channel. Hint, hint, I could use a video camera, guys. And anybody wants to support my channel in this way, just know, everybody, Jason has no technological savvy. You know, I could really use some help with some cool Photoshop thumbnails. So any of you that that do that sort of thing and want to help me, I'd be honored. I'd feel privileged, and I'd definitely take you up on it. So we could do some cool thumbnails for people, and they'll be able to click my videos. Because, I'm having troubles with YouTube promoting my videos, everybody, and it makes me wonder, is there a government agency behind the rabbit hole of YouTube, maybe elements of the CIA, doing a lot of censorship? Makes you wonder, right? I have a friend that works with databases and computer systems, and he thinks the same thing. There's certainly a government agency behind the rabbit hole of YouTube. So, but with your support, everybody, I know we can take this channel to the next level. And I challenge layers of the CIA, the good guys in the CIA and Lockheed Martin, because there are. I mean, as much as I'm going to expose some of the fraud, waste, abuse, mismanagement of spending, and some of the unethical acts that these guys have done, some of the shadow groups, there's still some good people, I believe, in these structures, in the CIA and in the likes of Lockheed Martin, the defense contractors. And I compel the good guys in these structures, just promote my videos, guys. I don't have a team that's working for me. I might have an informant at Lockheed Martin, but I don't got a team that's helping me. I'm digging at the truth here myself, guys. So help me promote my videos. And again, I'm trying to help humanity here in the public, because again, we've been hoodwinked and lied every which way by the military-industrial complex, particularly on the free energy generation propulsion systems, guys. Okay, and that's exactly what it is. It's an alternative, clean, free energy, right? And that's why the U.S. have largely been so vicious about suppressing this technology. And it's about goddamn time, though, we get the truth on it. All right, so let's get into the CIA, guys. Let's get into the history here. I'm going to try to give you the foundational underpinnings of when the CIA was started, how it was financed. We're going to bring it up to today, and we're going to talk about some of these unethical, unconstitutional, some of the monumental crimes that these guys have done. Okay, it's just unbelievable. So let's get into it. The CIA was created, of course, in 1947. Under the National Security Act. Truman created the CIA. But here's the thing, everybody. Just 3.5 to 4 years later, Truman regretted his decision, telling the world he regretted forming the CIA. And why did he say that? Because he knew nowhere in the documents did it allow the CIA to do covert operations. But by deference they did, to the tune of billions of dollars in the U.S. and abroad. They were doing covert operations with no restrictions whatsoever, everybody. They absolutely were. And that's why Truman was so frustrated. He knew they were doing insidious acts and murders in other countries and injecting their power in all these other countries around the world and in the U.S. and doing covert operations. And so that's why he also said famously, remember he said that the CIA were a mysterious, sinister agency that's casting a shadow on our position of historic freedoms. Absolutely. And then, we bring it up to the 1960s, of course. Remember, you had the 3-4-star general, President Eisenhower, his last day of office, his famous speech. Remember, he said, beware of the military-industrial complex. And again, this means elements, layers of the CIA as well, and the likes of Lockheed Martin, other defense contractors. Because he was frustrated, guys. He wasn't even getting the segmented, integrated information operational plans, particularly on the black projects. These unacknowledged special access projects. It was just going out of control, beginning in those 1960s, guys. The covert military civilizations, as I described, and Eisenhower had lost all control, and that's why he warned us. And then, of course, you had the late John F. Kennedy, of course, guys, right? The great man, John F. Kennedy, our last real ethical leader. He was a believer in freedom largely. He wanted to join Russia and other nations together. We were going to go to space in a big way, colonize Mars, go to the stars, create peace, fix our problems, right? That's why they called it Camelot, for a reason, guys. I didn't live in his time, but I know, I understand it was the most confidence that we had in the human race. And he famously said, remember, he was going to annihilate the CIA in 1,000 pieces. Well, why would he say that? Because he knew, guys, of all presidents, more than any other president actually, he knew what they were doing, at least some of them. He knew they were doing major covert operations, all these illegal operations. He knew they were transferring the technology, beginning to transfer to all these companies as well, and hiding it. And he wanted truth and transparency for us guys, right? He wanted these free energy systems, for example. He knew there was a covert space program that had free energy generation propulsion systems, that's not using rockets. That's 1943, not 1944 Nazi German technology, guys. Come on. And yet all the private space companies, I've told you many times, are using what? Rockets. It's a joke, guys. Rockets is obsolete dinosaur technology. Just want to get that out of the way. So Kennedy knew a lot of this, and that's why he wanted to get rid of the CIA, right? And then he was savagely murdered, unfortunately, right, guys? Well, who was all over that murder? Most people know, if you're half awake and do any research, it was the American CIA, absolutely. And they had hardcore Nazis, boots on the ground, as usual, to carry it out. Even overthrowing King Farouk, even the great Joseph P. Farrell will tell you too, they often use Nazis, boots on the ground, to carry out these agendas, guys. And it all goes back to 1947 when the Americans, remember, I did videos on this, we know under Operation Paperclip, they brought thousands of those hardcore Nazi German, brilliant German scientists under Operation Paperclip in America. The Americans, the military, the CIA, a lot of them, they sold their soul and they made those devil dealings with the hardcore Nazis. Why did they do it, everybody? It was for one reason. It was that technology. They knew inside Nazi Germany they had made a significant gravity breakthrough. Absolutely. And when the Americans worked with those hardcore Nazi German scientists, we know they made even more gravity breakthroughs. If you just look at the historical legacy, the gravity research, and what they were doing in the 1950s, guys, and they ultimately created, as I always just described, amazing, exotic, radical, gnarly UFO technology. These free energy generation propulsion systems. I describe it as spiritual dynamo technology, everyone, and that's why it's our divine right to have it. They're literally getting the energy from the 0 point, the ether of space, guys, and that's why it's our passage, our rite of passage to have it, to finally, so we can benefit the whole world. It's a clean energy, guys, alternative clean energy. It's going to clean our ecosystem in about 10 years or so, man. This is why I get so exasperated. You won't need a centralized utility bill. Any researcher with a grain of salt will tell you the same thing. We haven't needed centralized utilities, sticky oil, gas, coal, nuclear for at least 50 to 60 years, guys. That's right. But some of these petro-Nazi, American, British, misanthropic money hoarders, but a lot of these guys, they've enslaved us to sticky oil, gas, and coal, guys. Absolutely. When it's just evil. And it's pathetic. This is how they rebuke our power of sovereignty. And yet, the covert military civilizations, guys, the people that are in the know, they are literally living through an anti-gravity space travel revolution out there. And it's caused enormous privileges, again, for the people that are in the know, guys. And even Catherine Austin Fitz will tell you, privileges are the most wasteful thing that you can have for an economy, right? Because it can literally destroy so much optimization within an economy that it destroys the wealth with the people with the privileges, So it can be that destructive, guys. And if we don't get transparency and truth, then you are talking the evil things like genocide and, all this stuff. And slavery. I mean, come on, guys. We've got to wake up more than ever, especially with digital technology, perfecting the labor now. You better believe, guys, slavery has never been a more viable option, unfortunately, for elements of the CIA, the NSA, NRO, again, the Deep Black program contractors, particularly certain elements of Lockheed Martin, guys. Slavery is so prevalent that most people, they don't even realize it, man. And we're going to do a whole detailed report on slavery, guys. I'm going to describe, what I've uncovered, and it's going to blow your mind. But again, guys, we're talking about a society that can implement their will, man. And, people think of congressmen and senators as all powerful, right? But when you're talking about a civilization, whether it be control files, offering personnel benefits, whether it be mind control technology, right? Electronic harassment, whether it be threatening or killing your loved ones, you're literally talking about a civilization that can implement its will, as they say, and at the very highest echelons of society, they've literally implemented and created a secret slavery system that is part of running and servicing the secret financial system. Absolutely. Even the great Catherine Austin Fitts, again, the Secretary for HUD, House and Urban Development under George W. Bush, she tells you the same thing, guys. This is what we got to talk about and look at, man, and we got to fix it. We got to ask the right questions and change our behavior, everybody. And again, it starts with having an awareness campaign over the CIA and the corporate intelligence community as well, right, guys? And we've got to shun some of these CIA dirty players. And I'll point out some of these CIA dirty players again in future videos, guys, rest assured. I already did one on Chris Hadfield, our Canadian astronaut, who I might show a picture of at the end of this video. So keep in mind, guys, you know, and even today, here's some of the actions. As I told you guys, they often do unconstitutional, you know, activities, unfortunately, and sometimes monumental crimes. Look at 9/11, right? Look at the war in Iraq. Let's go to the war in Iraq. First of all, guys, most people know and talk about it that the American CIA, well, we all know actually, the American CIA created the war in Iraq, right? The big lie of WMD, weapons of mass destruction, that Saddam Hussein for sure had these weapons of mass destruction. Then we later come to find out that no, he didn't have them. And yeah, I mean, Saddam turned out to be a pretty damn bad, evil guy, but he was also best friends with Rumsfeld and George W. Bush, and you know, they would all get photos taken together and they were good friends. Talk about hypocrisy, right? And then we'll find the Americans turn on the guy. But I mean, the point is, guys, the CIA lied to the public and they lied to the governments saying that there was WMD, and Rumsfeld ended up being in on it. George W. Bush, of course. You see the persuasion, the power that the CIA try to do and often do, guys. And the point is, with a lot of the actions and how the CIA have been set up, guys, layers of the CIA, some of these unethical groups inside the structures, they're just stripping away the Constitution. Absolutely. You know, I did a video on the Constitution. We're going to do it again, guys. And they try to position people in power so that they will, you know, it's always about trying to divide and conquer the population, right? And they try to position people in power and of influence so that they can continue to try to strip away and convince people in their hearts, minds, and spirits in not believing in that covenant anymore, guys. You know, those amazing values that came out of the Scottish Enlightenment when the Constitution was created, it was one of the most miraculous things ever created, the U.S. Constitution, because our founding fathers of North America, of the United States, they knew what it would take, you know, to create a great country, right? They knew the pitfalls too. And so the values that came out of the Scottish Enlightenment were miraculous, guys. And even the combination of individual rights and property rights, that was a miraculous covenant too. And remember, you know, the U.S. Constitution states that our authority comes from us by divine creation, right? And every individual's sacred life is sacred. And, you know, and our rights to freedom, liberty, happiness, and peace comes from divine authority. And again, we have the rights to build and take down governments, guys. Never forget that, you know. People bitch and complain. Well, do a revolution. Why aren't the Americans doing a peaceful march in front of Washington just with signs? Put a sign up and say, you want your divine right to this black budget free energy that you know we've been lied to 50, 60 years. That's what it takes, guys, right? Bring awareness, you know, put out videos like I'm trying to do and talk about it, guys, you know. It can be done, guys. We just have to coalesce our ideas and thinking, as I always say, so we can manifest ultimately a true beauty for ourselves, guys. You know, we can grow a culture and society, I believe, to sustain ethical leadership. But we need intelligent discourse. We got to come together and not be divided. You know, again, guys, the CIA have largely divided the population. And we know they've stripped away the middle class in the United States and in other countries, affecting millions of people. Again, including my beautiful people, my powerful country, Canada. And, you know, speaking of defense contractors, guys, this is why I have such an antipathy towards elements of Lockheed Martin and the CIA, guys. This whole duplicitous military business scheme, this huge debacle, the largest weapons project in history, guys, the F-35 Joint Striker Fighter. I did a whole series on it, guys. I call it the turkey plane, and so does the expert Pure Spray. because they boistered this fat, bulky airframe on it. It's just a ridiculous. They claim it's a great plane. It's not even a great plane. And no country needs a fleet of F-35s, guys, particularly the United States and Canada. And now Lockheed Martin's propaganda machine, we know they've convinced 9 other foreign nations now to go in the investment of this scam, including my powerful country, Canada. This is why I get so irate. I found out, I dug into Canada's involvement in this scam, guys. The Canadian government let themselves be conned by Lockheed Martin's propaganda machine. We spent over $500 million, over $500 billion for 18 years on a plane we didn't know would even ever fly. And now Lockheed Martin, they want to go 18 more years operational, baseline operational, guys, with this ridiculous plane. I mean, it's going to cost my Canadian taxpayers $551 million. It's going to cost us at least, guys, if we stay invested in this thing. This is what's going on. And you better believe, everyone, where do you think a lot of the money's going? You know, if you know how the aerospace companies works, my friends, you know that this money largely gets deciphered off into the much more highly classified vehicles out there. Things like the cigar-shaped craft. How about the TR-3B? And we're going to do more videos on the black triangles, guys. The infamous black triangles that have been in vogue the last several decades. And guess who's the prime contractor? Can you guess? You bet. It's Lockheed Martin, guys. And I'm only one researcher. Actually, there's only one other researcher that I know of that's connected the TR-3B, or the Aurora Space Program, to the defense contractor Lockheed Martin. And that's my buddy Michael Schratt, the great aircraft aerospace historian. Okay? And it's known as AEG in the heart of the military-industrial complex. That stands for Anti-Gravity Electromagnetic Gravitics. That's the technology, guys. And how do I know this information? Well, like I said, Jason just might have an informant at Lockheed Martin. You never know. Got to keep the classified world on their toes, after all. So you see what's going on, right, guys? You got defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, again, layers of the CIA. They've been largely divorced from any encumbered responsibility and accountability. And, you know, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Raytheon, we know they're doing their thing. And we know that these defense contractors, of course, including Lockheed Martin, they're in charge of delivering billions and billions of dollars of arms around the world, right? Legally. I don't think that's a very good idea either. I think that's very dangerous, delivering arms around the world. I mean, come on. But this is what they do. That's part of their job description. As I've always said in the United States, it's largely all about garnering defense contracts and technology patents, unfortunately, guys, right? But Lockheed Martin, I also believe there's a story we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about in future videos, guys, that I think ties and substantiates this. But let me just say, I believe that Lockheed Martin are delivering hundreds of billions of dollars worth of contraband cash that can't be tracked and arms around the world illegally, my friends, illegally. And they're using the AEG craft, the TR-3B, out of the Aurora Space Program, positioned different places around the world. They're using this craft to do it, guys. And again, I'm going to tell you a story that I think will substantiate that for you guys. And it's reason, logic, common sense when it comes down to it. This is what Lockheed Martin are doing. A lot of unethical activities, I believe, guys. Because again, we've let them consolidate way too much power. We've let them become, again, they haven't been accountable, guys. We've got to make these guys accountable, man. Especially if we want to grow a cultured society to sustain ethical leadership, right? We got to ask the right questions, everyone. Excuse me. So we know the CIA instigated us to go to war in Iraq. And again, guys, about the Taliban and ISIS members, you know, remember that Lockheed Martin, you know what they're doing with the F-35 now? You know, finally they're operational. They're just, as I said in my series on the F-35, what are they doing? They're bombing ISIS Taliban members, rifled militants hiding in caves. You talk about a totally undefended, unsophisticated target, right? With the sophisticated F-35 and their sophisticated sensor packages. Give me a break. So outrageous, guys, right? And here's the thing. Who created ISIS and the Taliban in the first place? And who's financing them, right? I'm not the only one to say it. It's the American CIA largely, guys. Come on. And you got Lockheed Martin probably financing these guys because they're delivering arms around the world. That's reason, logic, common sense. So that would be them financing a lot of these groups, guys, right? Because again, when it comes to the American CIA, again, elements of the NRO, NSA, the Deep Black Program contractor, it's all about chaos, guys, right? They often create these ethnic wars in other countries. Again, I'm not the only one to talk about this. And it's all about, controlling the oil fields, for example, consolidating the power there. That's why a lot of people think that 9/11 was an inside job. And we just have to look at history, guys, right? Every war just about is started by a false flag. Whether it be the Stock, what was that name for inside of Nazi Germany there, the fire, the Stock fires or whatever it was. I'm butchering the name, sorry, but we all know now that fire, the Germans blamed the Russians inside Nazi Germany for that fire. Now we know the Nazi Germans did it to themselves to go to war, right? To get the public up in turmoil. That's what they do, to support the war. And it was the same with the Gulf of Tonkin incident, right, guys? Even McNamara admitted that the U.S. created the Gulf of Tonkin, so we go to war in Vietnam. This is what they do. It's always a false flag, guys. And the 9/11, I believe, was no different. And there's lots of evidence, if you look at it, to support it, guys. You just got to collect the data points. And it was all to inject power, in other words, in the Middle East, right? And now they've stripped away large parts of our Constitution. They basically hijacked, large parts of the Constitution on us, guys. And again, the amazing U.S. Constitution, that really holds for us Canadians, or should in my powerful country of Canada. We're neighbors after all, right, guys? So we have to get our power and sovereignty back, guys. If we want global vigilance for victory, again, we just got to get together and fight for our freedoms, guys, right? Don't let these groups rebuke our power and sovereignty anymore. And this means let's get rid of slavery as well. Again, we're going to talk about that in future videos, guys. Because believe me, slavery has never been more prevalent for these corporate elitists, as I say, okay? And there's an off-planet investment using slave labor on the moon and Mars. No question about it. We'll get in that in future videos. Even though it sounds wild, guys, I just want you to keep in mind, what is the two biggest economic drivers in history, guys? You just got to look on our precious planet on Earth to know it. It's warfare and slavery, right? So once you know there's massive military assets and infrastructure, covert production on the moon and Mars, which is massive, absolutely massive, guys, and the technology's trans-international, and the video evidence is overwhelming. You could see a lot of the covert production of the moon and Mars, guys. Just get off mainstream media, go on the internet, and you can see it all for yourselves. Open your eyes, guys. It is incredible. And you got to know, it's not just military groups doing this stuff, right, guys? It's not just the CIA and the military doing it. They're going to be using slave labor. And anytime you're using slave labor, that's evil, guys. And can you imagine being abducted from Earth for off-planet to work for the military? You know you're never going to see your precious planet, our beautiful Earth, ever again? This is happening, guys. This is real reality. Even Billy Carson, who owns First Class Space Agency, I think I referred to him earlier in this video, guy, he even tells you there is slave labor on the one side of Mars, and he knows it's going on the far side of the moon too. This is real reality we got to talk about, guys. All the more reason to bring transparency and truth, right? This is happening. And I think it's either 500,000 or 800,000 disappearances of young people in the United States every year that are never seen again, guys. Now, I'm not saying every disappearance, I'm not saying they're all going to underground bases and or off planet, but a lot of them are, guys. And we know we have underground bases worldwide. We know we have under ocean facilities worldwide. So I just want to get that off my chest today, guys. And all relates again to some of the unethical groups inside the CIA and the corporate intelligence community. So this is why we've got to expose these guys. We've got to put the CIA on notice, guys, and the intelligence community, right? And get the truth out. Okay? So thank you so much for being gracious with your times today. I know there's a lot to digest. I hope I was able to be clear and concise for the most part and talking about the history of the CIA and bringing it up to today, guys, and what we can see, okay? And unfortunately, the United States, like I said, they're run the country largely as a Nazi-esque model. We see more and more of the, of the private corporations, again, consolidating way too much power, and the private banks exercising too much power and control. Well, that was a Nazi-esque model largely too inside of Germany, right? Nazi Germany with Hitler. He won the private banks and corporations, private corporations in control, guys. And that's what we see a lot, large parts with the U.S., okay? And again, stripping away the middle class large. We've got to fight the good fight on this, guys, and change that structure, okay? It's a very dangerous change in the government where, I've always said, guys, you needed the governments to own and control and finance the military technology. But really, since the 1960s, the last several decades, we see a change in the government structure where the governments no longer own and control the military technology because it's all buried now within defense contractors. And they've transferred this technology to the private corporations. So they're free from any public oversight largely. They're exempt from freedom of information requests, right? No public disclosure. That's what's happened, guys, okay? And the military usually use the private corporations. They're often affiliated and contracted within the military. That way they can hide the people, the money, the resources. And the next video, guys, we're going to talk about this cover-up for 50 to 60 years, largely for the military UFO flying programs, okay? We're going to talk more about the cover-up in the U.S. leadership and government because it's vital, okay? And we're going to expose some more of the dirty players that I believe the CIA put out. Remember, I did a whole long video on Chris Hadfield, my Canadian boy, guys. Now, he's done some good work for the United States and Canada. Sure he has, no question. I commend him for that. But now, at this point in his career, guys, I believe he's chosen, unfortunately, to sell his soul. Because he's doing the master class, and I showed you guys he's bragging, trumpeting rockets. He's telling you basically rockets is all we've got for space travel. It's an absolute joke, guys. He knows rockets is obsolete dinosaur technology, but this is how even the private space companies, Elon Musk, right, with SpaceX, and you got Bigelow with his private space companies, this is how they disorient the public, guys, particularly the CIA and elements of the U.S. leadership and government. They're lying to you. Rockets, again, is obsolete dinosaur technology. That's 1943, 1944 Nazi German tech, guys, with the V2 rocket, right? We're way past rockets. But you would never know it if you listen to the private space companies and guys like him. He's just a CIA stooge, I believe. Chris Hadfield now, he's used as a commercial dangle, guys, to lie to you and disorient you guys. And we got to call people out like this, guys. We have to shun the dirty players, okay? He's another CIA dirty player has become, unfortunately. But we don't have to buy into the bullshit, guys. We really don't. So again, thanks for being gracious with your times. I hope you subscribe, share my videos, hit the bell icon, all that good stuff. And feel free to leave comments, everybody. I appreciate the comments, whether it be good or bad. I can deal with some constructive criticism, which I get sometimes. And again, anybody who wants to help me out with some Photoshop cool thumbnails for future videos, really appreciate that. Love to work with you. Take care, everybody. Have a great day in the meantime. And I know we can make a difference. We can facilitate a profound positive change. And part of it is to penetrate this black budget technology once and for all and get our divine right to it, right? 50 to 60 years of lies, way too long. We deserve better, guys. Most of us. Take care. More great videos to come. Bye.